Tell me a ghost story that sounds completely unbelievable but is entirely true.
I have one. So growing up, I lived in North Carolina, and our house was 1000% haunted. My sister follows me on here. Like, if she sees this video, she'll corroborate my story because Jesus fucking Christ. So when I was little, my dad was overseas. He was in the military, and so then when he came home, I think I was probably like 8, maybe 9. No, I was 8. And when he came home, I was like, oh, I want to sleep in the bed with daddy. Like, I want to sleep with dad. And he's like, yeah, of course. So I slept in his bed, and his door was open. And I was up that night late reading with a flashlight because I was like, oh, I'm going to blow his socks off reading this book to him. And that night, I heard footsteps coming up the stairs. And it was like keys jangling. And so I like go under the covers, have the covers up to here. And in the doorway, I see an apparition of my father. My dad is laying next to me, but I see my dad as plain as day. Oh, it makes me sick just thinking about it. He's like a little bit transparent, like I can kind of see through him, but it's my father. It's 2000s glasses on the back of the head, spiked cargo shorts with the keys on the carabiner. Like it was exactly my dad. Then he starts going, come here, come here, Vivian. It's my name. Come here, Vivian. And I was like, no way. And I put my covers over my head. And when I looked back out, he was gone. I have so many other stories about that house, but that's the one that sticks with me the most because it scared me so bad. I'll tell you one. I don't remember this. This was told to me by my dad because I was a baby when it happened. But so there is basically 3 stories for our house. There's like the downstairs level that has a pool table, like billiards. And we are on the top floor, so 3 floors above that. And I'm a baby, like baby, sleeping in my crib, can't get out. And then one night, my dad hears me crying. And he goes to my room, crib empty, no baby. He starts freaking out, obviously. And he's searching around the house, following my cry. I'm downstairs, 3 stories down, on top of the pool table. I'm sat on the pool table, like holding a pool ball, crying. I'm telling you, I was probably like 14 months, 15 months. You cannot get out of your crib. Nor could I walk down all those stairs and then get on top of a pool table. Then what? And in that house, me and my sisters, we were on top of the stairs. They're a lot older than me, and they know this story. We were on top of the stairs, and we were looking down into the darkness. Nobody else was home, and we were just like playing with a bouncy ball, like throwing shit down there. You know how kids are stupid. And we threw a bottle cap down there, and it threw back at us like.
Okay, we bought this house about 8 years ago, and we bought it from an older couple, and the husband was in pretty poor health. Their names were Melvin and Violet. And about 6 months after we moved here, I woke up. Some people say I was having a dream, and I heard the door. And I said, hello. And I heard a man's voice say, Vi, is that you? And I said, Vi doesn't live here anymore. And the voice said, oh, I forgot. Take care of the place, will you? And I went back to sleep. The next day, the next door neighbor called me, and she said, I wanted to let you know Melvin passed away about 2:30 a.m. last night. And I was like, oh my gosh. And so then, and I was glad I'd already told my husband about my dream or encounter. And so I had confirmation that it happened before. Well, we have a lamppost at the midway on our driveway. And when we bought the house, Melvin told us the only thing that doesn't work is the lamppost. Well, we, wanted to get it fixed, but hadn't gotten in touch with an electrician yet. And one day I jokingly said, oh, Melvin, can you light up the lamppost for me? I've never seen it lit. I'm not kidding. I have pictures on my phone of it lit. I texted to my husband at work. It lit up. Broad daylight, it lit up. And it was lit the whole day. And it's never lit again. We haven't got it fixed yet. And then we have a sprinkler system. The association, there's like 6 of us on it. And there were Monday, Wednesday, Friday. 7 a.m. sprinklers came on. Well, somebody had the bright idea to change it to Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, 4 a.m. Well, I hadn't read the book yet, didn't know how to do it. And I was just like, I'll have to get out of bed and do it manually. Well, the first day, it was time for me to get up and turn it on. And I said, oh, Melvin, I wish you were here to program it. And all of a sudden, I just hear whooshing of water. And I'm like, haha, it's raining. I don't even need to do it. And then my husband says, oh, you got up and turned on the sprinklers already? I looked out the window and the sprinklers were going. They'd never operated at 4 a.m. on a Tuesday.
I've got a bunch of these, but I usually don't talk about them often because people think I'm crazy, so I just don't really talk about them. But the earliest memory that I have of weird things happening to me was when I was in first grade. One of my best friends, she was born very ill. I don't know exactly what she had, but she was very, very small. She was in a wheelchair. She couldn't walk on her own. She had an oxygen tank. By the time she was in first grade, I think she'd had 6 or 7 surgeries already. So she was quite ill. But she was one of my best friends. We read together all the time. We both would bring books out to the playground and we would sit and read, or whatever game we were playing, we would play over by the side so that she could, be as involved as she could be. Like, she was great. I loved her. We were really good friends. Unfortunately, we didn't ever really hang out outside of school because she was quite ill. So I didn't really hang out with her. Like, she didn't come over to play or anything like that. But at school, we were always sitting together in school, at lunch, on the playground, all that stuff. And then at some point during the school year, she had another surgery coming up. And it was supposed to be a routine surgery. It was something that she had had before. Again, I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was a surgery. And her mother had come in and kind of explained a little bit to us what was going to happen. She was going to be out for a few weeks. So the class had, written little, like, get well cards and, like, all these little gifts and trinkets and that kind of thing. And then a couple days later, or a week later, something like that, it was a weekend, and I remember being like, man, I really miss my friend. And I remember waking up in the morning and going downstairs, getting something to eat, or whatever kids do in the morning. And when I'd gone back upstairs to my bedroom, my friend was chilling in my room, and she was like playing and stuff, and she didn't have a wheelchair and she didn't have an oxygen tank. And I was like, this is awesome. Like, your surgery worked, you're better. And she was like, yeah, I'm really good now. Everything's great. I just wanted to play for a little while. So, and it was weird because, like, I mean, in my first grade little, 5-6-year-old brain, I don't remember thinking anything other than, like, this is fantastic. And, obviously looking back now, I'm like, I shared a room with my sister, my little sister, and she was nowhere to be seen. I have no idea where my sister was, whatever. But we played all afternoon. I remember the games that we played. Like, she really wanted to play Pretty Pretty Princess, so we did that, which, if you remember that game, it was, like, the coolest game ever. So we played that. We played with, like, my little kitchenette set, like, all of the things that she didn't really ever get to do in class with us because she couldn't. We, like, played all afternoon. And then the only other thing that I remember being a little bit weird about that, even at the time, was she kind of just got up and was like, okay, well, it's time for me to go. And I was like, I don't remember the phone ringing. Like, my mom didn't come up and check on us at all, first of all. But also, she didn't, like, come and say, hey, it's time to go. Like, your mom's here. And my friend was just like, yeah, no, I know, but I have to go now. Like, it's time for me to go. And I was like, okay, cool. Well, hey, we'll see you at school. Like, you can come and do all these things on the playground with us now. Like, I'm super excited to see you. And she just kind of, like, smiled and waved and walked out my bedroom door. It wasn't like she vanished or I woke up in my bed. Like, she just waved and walked out the door. And then I went about the rest of my day, and it was what it was. So then a few days after that, my mom had gotten a phone call around dinner time, because I remember we still had landlines. It was the early 90s. So she got up from the kitchen table and answered the phone and kind of looked over at me and my siblings and then walked around the corner as far as the cord would allow her to go, and like was whispering into the phone. And when she came back into the kitchen, she like pulled me aside and she tried to explain to me that it was my friend's mom. The surgery had not gone well. My friend never came out of it. Like, they'd put her under. They couldn't wake her up, so she was gone. And I remember getting so angry where I was like, that's not funny. You don't joke about that kind of thing. Not cool. Like, knock it off. And my mom was like, no, really. Like, this is... And I was like, she was just here the other day. Like, she was just playing with me. And, you know, my mom obviously was like, you know, that was a dream. Obviously, it didn't happen. You're just, you know, missing your friend and whatever. So I was upset. I was very, very distraught. The rest of that school year was pretty rough for me because, you know, my friend that I hung out with every day at school was now no longer there. And it was the first experience that I had had, like, with losing somebody like that. And I was very young, so it was rough. And my mom didn't let me go to the funeral, which I always remember being really upset about, too, because that would have been a closure for me. And I don't know. I mean, maybe that's just me looking at it as an adult, but either way, doesn't matter. The weirder part about all of this is that I am now in my late 30s, and to this day, I've lost quite a few people from my life, unfortunately. Every time somebody is either going to die or get very sick or get really bad news, like diagnoses, stuff like that, my friend, like, I will wake up, and my little first grade looking self, she's like this teeny little tiny girl, will be sitting at the end of my bed. And every time I wake up, I'll look at her and she'll kind of wait for me to like realize what's happening. And then she'll just kind of touch my foot or my leg or whatever and tell me it's going to be rough for a little bit, but then it'll be okay. Like, everything will be okay eventually. And then that's it. And then she'll get up and walk out my door. She never just like vanishes. It's always like she stands up and walks out the door. And then every time I've seen her, within a week, 2 weeks, something like that, I'll get really bad news. Either a family member has passed, or I've had a couple friends pass, or something happens. So yeah, to this day, my first grade friend comes to warn me about bad news. And that's kind of just the start. Like I said, there's a lot of weird things that happen that kind of follow me, I feel like. But yeah, that's my earliest one. And honestly, at this point, it's kind of a comfort. Like, as bad as every time you see her, you're like, oh shit, something's going to happen. But it's still almost kind of a comfort where I'm like, cool, she's still kind of looking out for me a little bit. So, yeah, I don't know. It's weird.